Hi everybody, Geordie Numata here, and I want to talk a little bit about my practice, Deer Spirit Reiki, and this is a special time for me because on the spring equinox this year, which is tomorrow, that is the 20th anniversary of my practice. Everything really started with my first Reiki circle at Madison Wellness Center in 2006 on the first day of spring. So yeah, this is a 20-year anniversary. It's a big deal for me, and I just want to share a little bit about how everything started and how it evolved in my practice. Basically, in 2006, I was in early recovery from drug addiction. I'd gone through the rehab process, and I was living with my sister, my older sister, and I was, I was actually on parole at the time because I had gotten arrested and sentenced and got mandated into rehab. I was a very stubborn person, man, and very stubborn man. And I thought, you know what, if I want to get clean, I'll just do it by myself. And I tried to do it by myself several times. I just always failed. But I needed help, and it was I'm an astrologer, and at age 50, which is Chiron return. Chiron is a tiny little planetoid, but it has a lot of lot of power, and especially in charts where it's making a lot of angles to other planets. It's really activated. My natal Chiron is very highly activated. It's in my 10th house, and that's the house of empowerment and professionalism and how you interface with the world at large with what you do. And my Chiron return was a crisis over drug addiction, and I had to get help. And thanks, I'm super grateful for the police and the court system for very compassionately choosing to mandate me into Phoenix House Rehab in jail. And so that's what it took to really finally wake me up. And I am so grateful that I was able to get help, and because once I got help, it was pretty easy to stop using. And I did a really pretty rigorous 12-step program for a long time. I have 23 years clean. So back in 2006, at that time, I was practicing meditation and prayer, which is part of the 12-step program. And it's something that I'd always done anyway. I was always interested in spiritual stuff. And when I was young, I was, in my early teens, I was into Zen Buddhism and practicing meditation and reading the Bhagavad Gita. And I was a hippie generation. I was born in 1952. And part of me was like drug, sex, and rock and roll. And the other part was I was studying astrology from age 15. And that's a big part of my practice now as I do astrology readings. But I was anything I could get my hands on about spirituality, I was really excited about. And but my generation, we like to get high, and many of us died of drug addiction, of overdose or whatever. And but there was this thing of like never trust people over 30, the generation gap. But we smoked a lot of weed. We were taking LSD, psilocybin, mushrooms, all that kind of stuff. I don't do that anymore. I have 23 years clean, but thank God that I got help because it was really bad. When I finally got arrested, I'd been homeless and stuff, and then the addiction had covered up all my passions and talents and all that stuff. And when I got clean, I was able to really, start meditating again. And now let me see where's the book? Yeah, here it is. So I was reading a lot of books at the time before I found Reiki. And this book, Alchemical Healing by Nikki Scully, was one of the books. And this book, it looks like it's brand new because I never finished it. But in the first chapter, Nikki Scully talks about how she was, touring with the Grateful Dead, and she was helping people that were having bad trips. And she was just this kind of very nurturing, healing kind of person. She said the first thing she got actual training in was Reiki. And she described Reiki and how it was Japanese. Actually, I'm 25% Japanese, and I love Eastern culture and Eastern philosophy and all that kind of stuff, Buddhism and Hinduism and all the the Enlightenment religions, because we weren't getting the Enlightenment stuff with the watered down Christianity back in the 50s and 60s. So it was a very exciting time, and it was like the music and the spirituality was a huge part of it. Classic rock, I mean, that people are still listening to these great artists of the 60s and 70s. But she mentions Reiki. She says, you get the attunements and your hands warm up and you do healing touch. And so I was like, I think I want to learn Reiki. And so I said a little prayer. I said, please, higher power, please give me a sign if I'm supposed to learn Reiki. 2 weeks later, I'm at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and this woman walks in, and a strange woman. I was like, I wonder who she is. So she sits down, and it was her time to share. She goes, well, I don't make meetings in New York City anymore because I live in New Jersey, and I do my meetings there. But I just happen to be on the Upper West Side getting my level 2 Reiki training from my Reiki teacher. So, that was like right in my face. That was my sign. And I went right up to her after the meeting. I said, I want to learn Reiki. She said, okay, what you need to do is you want to go to my teacher's Reiki circle on Monday night at TRS. And that's what I did. I got my first treatment there. And from that night, I don't remember the exact date, but that was in 2004, I think. But Louisiana Zen was my first teacher. That was her Reiki circle, and she did it every Monday night. And that's why right now, today, I'm still doing a Monday night Reiki circle, because Louisiana found this guy on a dating site, married him, and moved out to Long Island, and then there was no more Reiki circle to go to. So my plan was I was going to start my own Reiki circle. I took level 1 and 2 with her, and then I took level 3 and Reiki Master Teacher with Carlos Gonzalez, who was a very well-known teacher. He's no longer alive, but just a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he and his wife, Anna, were very well-known, not just in the tri-state area around New York City, but they had people coming from all over the place. I mean, there was a lady from Puerto Rico that came to study with him when I took Karuna Reiki training with him. But now, I had taken 1 and 2 with Louisiana, and she was really a fantastic teacher. And, she's one of my spiritual, mommies. And, I'm super grateful for her. She was really an amazing woman. And she taught Reiki for a long time. I mean, she was teaching Reiki back in the 90s. There would be like 20 people in her Reiki circle in person at TRS. And it was a great circle. She'd do the guided meditation, and then we'd, and there was chair treatments. We didn't have massage tables in there. You just treat somebody while they were sitting in a chair, like 15 or 20 minutes. I got my first treatment there, and I knew it's like this. I'm going to do this. And I took 1 and 2 with her. I took level 3 and Reiki Master Teacher with Carlos Gonzalez, and he would teach level 3 and Reiki Master Teacher in one weekend. You would do level 3 on Friday, Reiki Master Teacher on Saturday and Sunday, and then you get your teacher certificate. And I started teaching Reiki in 2006. After my first Reiki circle got going, I started getting students, I started getting clients, and the whole thing I started making money. And I have to say, I have to put it in a good word for Pat and Glenn Scarpelli at Madison Wellness Center, because they gave me a chance to do my Reiki circle there, and they held space for me to really get my whole practice off the ground. And they are 2 of the biggest angels in my life, and they are no longer with us. And that is a kind of crazy story in itself, because they actually commit suicide, and in the kind of very they had very, very serious debt problems, which I didn't really know about. I sort of did. I always wondered how do they make ends meet? They had a very successful practice, but they weren't making that much money. And they commit suicide because they were going to take away his license, his chiropractic license, and he was going to lose everything basically, and they just could not stomach that. So they jumped out the window together from the ninth floor of Madison Wellness Center in 30th and 33rd and Madison to their death. It was in the news all over the world, and it turned my life upside down. It was just really an incredibly traumatic thing to go through because I was very close to them, and they were very well known. People loved them. People absolutely loved them. He was the president of New York Chiropractic Society, but I'm not going to talk more about that. Maybe I'll make another video just about them because they're really extraordinary people. Um, uh, I'm going to try to keep this short, but I can get very long-winded. Reiki was like one of the best things. Getting in recovery, getting arrested and getting mandated into rehab, absolutely one of the best things that ever happened to me. And at the time, I thought it was like the worst thing that ever happened to me. But finding Reiki and finding Pat and Glenn Scarpelli at Madison Wellness Center, that was the beginning of a whole new life for me that has been literally beyond my wildest dreams. So 20 years down the line, I'm still doing this. I'm still learning. I'm still loving it. I'm still active. I'm still healthy. I'm actually healthier now at 73 years old than when I first started, because I have learned so much about holistic health, and I've been able to actually really reverse my biological age and heal all the damage of drug addiction. I was never using needles. I wasn't HIV positive. I just like to get high. I was never violent. I have a rap sheet, but it's all like pretty minor stuff. But I've been in and out of jail like a bunch of times. But it was being mandated into rehab and jail that really saved my life. But I'm not. You won't hear me talking about, defunding, getting rid of the police and everything, because the police and the court system saved my life. And that's what they do on a regular basis. They protect people and save people's lives. But and I have friends that are cops. There's a guy, Willie, that does ear acupuncture. That he was the guy that ran the detail that protected the mayor of New York City and dignitaries. I mean, he's a fantastic guy, wonderful guy, and he loves doing ear acupuncture in our clinic. And when he gives you ear acupuncture, you don't even feel the needles going in. I don't know how the hell he does it. No, I'm not against the police at all. But I'm not political either. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. The whole system is just like nuts. But I started getting students. I mean, I've trained probably over 500 students, and Reiki, Karuna Reiki, and Angelica with Light. And another thing I've always done, which I really got from my mother, was doing lots of charity work, because she did free clinics for family planning in New Jersey. And, I mean, during her Chiron return, she became a nurse practitioner at age 50. Me at age 50, I had the healing crisis over drug addiction, and I lived out the wounded healer. Chiron, is planet of the wounded healer. Chiron is also where your magic is in life. And the wounded healer is like, you have a serious chronic issue, whether it's a disease or an addiction or trauma or whatever, you heal it, and then you're a wounded healer, because not only did you heal yourself, you can help other people heal themselves. So that's what I'm doing. And now, once I really forgave myself for all the stupid stuff I did as with the disease of drug addiction, I realized that was a very important sort of boot camp learning experience for me to do the work that I'm doing now, because now I can help people with get themselves unstuck from bad habits and addictions, or just bad relationships, or bad health, disease patterns, all that stuff. Um, and Reiki healing, touch, and energy healing in general. That's what it's for. It's to help people heal themselves and to help people self-realize spiritually, to actually become enlightened and to recover their true nature as divine immortal spirit souls. That's how I describe it. So spiritual awakening is a big part of my practice. And anybody that really is seriously practicing Reiki knows that, because the Reiki itself, the lineage, comes from Usui Sensei's enlightenment on Mount Karama in 1922. He was a guy that when he got older, he was always interested in spirituality, and he had studied different religions. He'd done some traveling in different places in the world. And he was a guy like me that just kind of never really fit in. And they say that his life was very difficult. He'd be unemployed. He had a lot of different jobs. He had a wife and kids. But when his kids grew up, he just wanted to achieve enlightenment, and he practiced meditation for 3 years, Zen meditation for 3 years. And then his teacher said, it's like, if you want to really become enlightened, why don't you go to Mount Karama, which is a sacred mountain with an 800-year-old Buddhist temple, and do the traditional fasting and meditation retreat. And that's what he did. And on the 21st day, he thought he was going to die, basically, because he'd become so weak from not eating. And when he went up there, it was basically like, this is it, man. It's like enlightenment or death. I ain't coming down from there unless I'm enlightened. But just when he thought he was going to die, and it was twilight, it was the end of the day, the way they describe it in the literature is they say he got struck by spiritual lightning in the crown chakra and became enlightened and actually passed out. He woke up in the morning, he felt like he was totally rejuvenated. He felt like this immense inner peace. He felt at one with everything in the universe. He had achieved a massive enlightenment. And he went running down the mountain. He wanted to tell his Zen teacher the good news. And he stubbed his toe in a rock. And then he sat down and he put his hands on the toe, and his hands, he felt like that fiery heat in his hands, and it healed his toe. And then he realized he could do healing touch, and that was his gift. And he only lived for 4 more years, but he trained 2,000 students, and he trained a bunch of teachers. And after he died, his legacy lived on. And this is very important. He wanted Reiki to be available for everybody in the world. And that actually came true when Reiki was brought to the United States in the 1970s by Takata Sensei, Mrs. Takata. And then it started to spread later in the 90s, when people were charging a lot of money for Reiki training, like thousands of dollars for Reiki training. And it wasn't really getting popular. So one of Takata's students, Iris Ishikuro, decided to start lowering her fees. And I really think that was because of the AIDS epidemic and the crack epidemic and the social services needed something with real spiritual healing. And that really happened in the 90s when people started teaching Reiki and making it affordable for everybody. And a lot of teachers were teaching it for free. And, one of my favorite people, Raquel Algarin, was teaching it for free. And she was a big part of the ACT UP grassroots, AIDS organization to advocate for services for people with AIDS. And that became the harm reduction model, was helping addicts take better care of themselves and get some services, whether it was counseling or helping them to get into rehab. But that started with needle exchange, because a lot of the AIDS was transmitted by shared needles for intravenous drug using. And that was a big part of my charity work for 13 years. I did free clinics with the Your Acupuncture Detox Protocol, which I learned at the old Lincoln Acupuncture Detox Facility, which very sadly lost funding. But I was able to help one of my students get trained as a Reiki teacher and she got hired to revive the program of the Lincoln Acupuncture Detox program at Lincoln Hospital, and she's doing that right now, and she's doing a great job. That's Rhea Broderick. So I've trained hundreds of people in Reiki and Karuna Reiki, and I've actually taught ear acupuncture in Guatemala and Peru. I do mostly to indigenous people, but I've always done a lot of charity work, and to this day, my Monday night conference call, Reiki Circle, is free, but you can donate. And then all my angelic light healing sessions are free, but you can donate. And so I do get some donations from that, but mostly I just want high quality energy work to be available for everybody, everywhere, regardless of ability to pay. And that's something I'm really known for, and I've really done a lot of that. And I make a living off of this. I'm not getting rich, and that was never my. I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm doing this to help people. But the fringe benefit is that I have a good life. I have a good place to live, and I can take a vacation. I have some savings and some investments, and I can take it. I have everything I need to live a good life, and I also have the deep fulfillment and satisfaction and inner serenity from knowing that I am not, a problem in the world. I am in the solution, not the problem. I am the medicine, not the disease. And, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, enlightened master or anything like that. The Reiki master thing, that's not really, that's something Americans made up. Like you can get a piece of paper that says, now you're a Reiki master teacher, and you really haven't done anything. You haven't mastered anything. But actually, the teacher level is called Shimpiden. And in Japanese, that means the mystery teaching. And that's the mystery of our own existence. Why are we here? What are we really, what's the purpose of life? And, Reiki, first and foremost, is a practice like yoga or meditation of enlightenment. And it also happens to work really well as a healing touch modality. And I have touched thousands and thousands of people with my Reiki hands, and they feel a whole lot better after I do that. And it's incredibly simple to learn, and anybody can do it. That's the beauty of what Usui did, because there was a lot of this kind of work that was doing even other modalities called Reiki that never really spread. But Usui was ahead of his time. He was very Aquarian in his he was a Leo, and the opposite sign of Leo is Aquarius. And in astrology, signs that are opposite each other are like two sides of the same coin. But he had the big generous heart of the Leo. He had the leadership of the Leo, and also he wanted Reiki to be available for everybody. And it was never an elitist thing just for like the special people for him. And so he was ahead of his time. He died in 1926, and Reiki didn't start to spread until the 70s and 80s, when Mrs. Takata got the training. She lived in Hawaii, and then she went back to Japan to get the training, and she, that's a whole nother story. She's pretty amazing, but she really brought Reiki to America. And then it wasn't spreading because it cost too much. I have to watch the time because I have a client at 6 o'clock. So, anyway, that's enough for now, and I'll probably make a part two. But 20-year anniversary of Reiki's, the spring equinox, and I am a happy camper. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world that I can do this. And that, I've done a lot of really cool stuff, so I really feel really good about this. Helped a lot of people. And you can do this too. If you're watching this and you're like enjoying what I'm sharing, you're probably an angel too, and you're probably going to be able to make a huge difference in the world too someday. And that's why we're here, is to use our talents and gifts in service. It's really simple. So big love to everybody, and happy spring equinox. And I'm really glad that spring is here, because we had a pretty hard winter here in New York City. Anyway, let's talk again soon, and please take good care of yourself and don't worry.